And one of the key things when you start on training is to decide who your audience is going to be. And particularly the difference between B2B and B2C. So here we're talking about, are you going to sell business to business? Are you going to train companies? Or are you going to do B2C, where business to customer or business to consumer? Are you actually going to do training for members of the public? And there's a big difference between these two, because if you do B2B, then you will be able to charge a good price, as we'll see in a minute. Whereas if you're going to do training for the public, then the big problem you're going to have is they won't pay much money. It's hard to get anybody to part with more than about £10 or $20. Even if they're going to learn about negotiating, that's going to save them thousands. Oh, I'm not going to pay more than £10. So working with the public, price is always going to be an issue. So that's the first decision. But there's another dimension to this, which is, do you have one customer or do you have many customers? So let me explain what I mean about this, because if you have one customer, it's going to be relatively simple. Whereas if you have many customers, then the admin is going to become a nightmare. So if you look at these combinations, my absolute number one preference would be this. Business to business, one customer. So you have a client, and it might be public sector, private sector, it might be a big company or a small company, but you have a client and you go in there to run a training course. And they organise a group of 20 people who turn up, and you don't care whether it's 15 or 20, you don't care who they are. All that admin is done by the customer, and they find a room and they arrange a date and they do everything. So that's the simplest way to do it, to just have one customer that you go in to see. And customers will happily pay, say, £1,000 for a day, or they'll happily pay, say, £500 for a Zoom hour, because that's great value for them. Because if they've got 20 people on the course, they're only paying £50 a head for a day of training. And you can see here, if they've got 20 people, then they're only paying £25 per person for an hour of Zoom training. And that's bound to pay for itself. So the money is good, it's nice and simple, you'll get repeat work and everything is good. And that is absolutely route one, that's what I'd recommend. Now, the second option you could go for is business to business many. So my second choice would be open courses. So this is where you run, let's say, a day of training on any subject. It could be sales, project management, whatever it might be, cybersecurity, finance for non-financial people, whatever it might be. And lots of people come from different businesses. So maybe they pay £150 for the day per person. That's per person. Or if it's Zoom, maybe you charge them £50 per person per hour. So for them it's great value, because they're only paying £50 for a person to learn all about selling or negotiating or project management. So for them it's great. And for you it can be really good, because if you've got even 10 people on here, you can see you're getting your £500 an hour. You could be getting £1,500 a day. And you might have 20 people, and then you're up to £3,000 for a day of training. The snag, of course, is the admin, because the marketing is quite complicated to get the people there, and then you've got to invoice them all individually, and you've got people ringing up saying, I'm going to be late, is that okay? Or, when's your next one, because I can't make the date. And so the admin it really is herding cats. But the money can work out very well if you do open courses for businesses. And you'll get quite a lot of repeat work as well, because businesses will tend to send one or two people each time. So 3 months later, when you do it again, they've got one or two new people who need to come on your course. And you'll just get this steady stream of people once you've got established customers. So I would say that's not a bad model at all. And of course, if you do a mixture of both of these, that works really well together, because sometimes they won't have enough people for a whole course, so they'll send them on that. And sometimes they'll send one or two people and they'll think, that's really good, we should get him in to do a whole day for us. Or they'll think, we've got enough people to have our own course and that will work out cheaper. So, because you can imagine if you've got 10 people, it works out cheaper to have your own day, doesn't it? So those two work well together. But if I was going to choose one, I'd go for the top one, because it's much less admin. Now we get down to the choices that are less good. So my third choice would be to have an open course for the public. So you could advertise a Zoom hour or half a day perhaps of training on negotiating for the public. But that's going to be difficult because it's going to be a lot of admin and they're not going to pay very much. So you might get people to pay, let's say, £25 each for a couple of hours of training, and you might get 10 people. So you might get £250 for a couple of hours, but it's not great compared to £500 an hour for this, and it's a lot of work. So I would say that open courses for the public are really not worth it. I mean, even if you can find a really popular subject, it's difficult to get the message out. You're looking at advertising or getting yourself listed on people's websites where you have to pay half the money to whoever's website it is. And so open courses for the public, I would not really recommend. And then you've got the fourth choice, the worst choice of all, which is teaching the public B2C one at a time. And here you're into things like guitar lessons or life coaching or something like that. I'm just going to put coaching here. And really, you know, you're looking at, I don't know, 20 to 30 pounds an hour, probably. Now, one-to-one coaching for senior managers from companies, you've got one customer, it's B2B, you could charge them hundreds of pounds per hour. But if you're looking at the public, it's hard to get them to pay a decent hourly rate. I mean, maybe £50 an hour would be the most you'd get. But you can see that these ones are far better than that. So that is the worst option, and I really would not recommend one-to-one coaching.